Good evening. Can you all hear me okay? Online? Everyone online?
Yes, we can hear you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining in for tonight's public meeting for the Germantown Multimodal Improvement Study. My name is Angel Chang from MCDOT. I'm the project manager. Tonight's meeting will be recorded, and we ask that if you do not want your likeness or audio or your voice to be part of the public record, please turn off your camera and mute your mic. And the video for the presentation will be available on the project website after tonight's meeting. So quickly go through tonight's meeting's agenda. We'll have a brief introduction for the project team. We'll go over the project overview, design criteria, planning alternatives for both Wisteria Drive and Middlebrook Road. We'll talk about a little bit about the operation considerations as part of this study, the project costs and impacts, and we'll wrap it up with next steps and Q&A. So if you have any questions, please save it until after the presentation, and we'll get them answered at the end of the presentation. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Angel Chang from MCDOT. I'm the project manager, and tonight with me I have Dan Sheridan, who's the design section chief, Rebecca Park, who's the transportation unit manager. We have Jenna Fleming, who's our consulting engineer, Steve Hofthoff, Ying Liu, Scott Holcomb. So they're working on this project along with us at MCDOT. So if you have specific questions at the end of the presentation, we welcome you to ask them. Okay, so next slide, please. So project overview. This project covers the area in Germantown on Wisteria Drive and Middlebrook Road between Maryland 118, which is Germantown Road, and Maryland 119, which is the Great Seneca Highway. The purpose of this project is to improve pedestrian and bicycle facilities on this two road, as well as transit access improvement, including access and connection to the Germantown MARC train station and the various bus stops that is located on both Wisteria Drive and Middlebrook Road. This is a planning study, so it's not funded for final design or construction yet. Next slide, please. Some of the design criteria that we are considering, including consulting the master plan for in Montgomery County, so such as the bicycle master plan, the master plan of highways, Germantown master plan, MARC Rail communities plan, and the complete street design guide. And at this point, I would like to turn it over to Ying Liu from Jenna Fleming. She will talk about more about the design alternative. Ying?
Can we go to next step, please? So the next 4 slides will show the current condition along Wisteria Drive. We have 4 locations shown here. The first location is near MD 118. We're looking south, and we have 2 southbound lanes and 3 northbound lanes. Next, please. The next section is 50 feet curb-to-curb pavement with a center turn lane. The outside lane are 20 feet now, but not marked for roadside parking. Next, please. Next one is the widest section of Wisteria Drive. It's near Seneca Valley High School. So the pavement is 62 feet wide, and we have 4 lanes. Next, please. The last existing condition is approaching the MD 119 intersection. The pavement is 60 feet, but we have 6 lanes with each lane only 10 feet wide. Next, please. And the next few slides will present the improvement options along Wisteria Drive. This is option 1. It's basically a short-term option. The main concept is basically just to remark the 10 feet rightmost pavement as a 2-way back lane with a 2 feet buffer. So it's most cost effective with faster implementation. but it's kind of narrow with only 8 feet bike length for 2 ways. For this one, to meet the bike master plan, we also provided 8 feet side path along the west side. Next one, please. The next option is option 2A. It's basically the midterm option. Compared to option 1, we are basically just trying to replace the marked buffer with a 6 feet raised buffer, and the 2A bike lane will be 12 feet wide. The thing is, because we take more pavement for bike facility, we are kind of reducing the traffic capacity along the road. Next one, please. The next option is option 2B. It's also a midterm option. Basically, we are trying to maintain the roadway unchanged, but to add a 14 feet bike and pedestrian path along the east side. So it's the most impactful right of way or environmental wise, but it won't disturb any vehicle traffic. Next, please. The next 2 options basically are the ultimate locations. So we are trying to maintain the number of lanes along Wisteria. This would require some widening. So for MD118 intersection, we are basically proposing to widen the pavement from 50 feet to 62 feet. And the widen will be to the west side because of the CVS steep slope. And for the MD119 intersection, basically we are trying to widen to the school side from 60 feet to 72 feet. Next, please. For the other locations, they are more or less like the short-term option 1. We are basically able to remark the existing pavement to allow 2-way bike lanes without any extra widening. Next, please. So for Meadowbrook, the existing condition is shown on this slide. For northbound, we currently still have 3 through lanes. And for southbound, the county just implemented a bike improvement study to provide 2-way bike lanes. So basically, the key idea for Meadowbrook Road is to implement something similar to the northbound direction. Next slide, please. So basically, we are trying to turn the rightmost lane to a 2-way traffic. The option is just to use marked buffer or to use raised median. Next, I will pass to Scott Holcomb, our traffic engineer.
Thank you, Ing. Next slide, please. As part of the study that we're working on now and as a guide for this project as it moves forward beyond this point, there are a number of operational considerations that the project team has been taking a look at. Of course, because we're introducing a facility for bicyclists, we want to make sure that the signal timings along both corridors are proper for bicyclists and pedestrians to be able to cross the intersection safely to get from one side to the other. That includes looking at the crossing distances, how fast people can get across the roadway, making sure that there's enough time for them to do so, protected with the signal, and also looking at strategies like leading pedestrian intervals within the signal timing, which give the non-motorized traffic a bit of a head start to get into the intersection before any other opposing traffic can move, thereby not only giving them a head start, but increasing their visibility so that when people are making turning movements, it's very clear that there are people in front of them. So that's something that we have also been looking at with the operational analysis we've been doing. Part of our goal is to minimize the traffic queues and delays, trying not to increase them through the corridor with our different improvements, but also not trying to speed up traffic at all either. Trying to make sure that the speeds that we're keeping traffic are compatible with the pedestrians and bikes that we're encouraging to use the corridors. And of course, as we get further into design, An important aspect would be providing clear traffic controls and devices, the signing and the pavement markings for all the travel modes. So it's clear within the roadway right-of-way where different people are supposed to be depending upon what mode they're using, and making sure all the other modes know where they are as well, so that they stand out. Next slide, please. One of the things that we took a look at, of course, was the county bicycle master plan. This is a map of the local study area showing the bicycle stress that bicyclists experience today traveling those different corridors. If you look at the key at the bottom of the map, you can see that in red, you have high and moderate stress, which is very difficult for a lot of people to manage. Really, other than very experienced bicyclists, they're not going to feel comfortable traveling on those roadways. And then as we get to the blue collars with the low and the very low, that is where there's more comfort and more users will feel comfortable using that facility. You can see along Middlebrook Road at the top there, in the one direction where we have the existing bicycle lanes, that it's in blue. Noting that that traffic has been properly taken care of, but on the other side of the roadway, it's still red because we don't have designated bicycle lanes on that side of the roadway. And on Wisteria, it's a little bit of the opposite. In the southbound direction, it's red because there are no bicycle facilities along that part of the roadway, and the existing sidewalk along that side of the road is very small. So these are some of the issues that we're trying to resolve with our project. Next slide, please. This is some information about the crash history along both corridors. We looked at the 5-year crash history between 2018 and 2022 along the two roadways. Along those two roadways between Maryland 118 and Maryland 119, there were 145 total crashes during that period, and about almost 50% of them happened in the afternoon hours between noon and 6 p.m. Of that 145 total crashes, 62 of them were on Middlebrook, and there were 2 pedestrian and 1 bicycle crash during that time period. And those you can see if you look at the intersection of Crystal Rock and Middlebrook, you can see there in the green bicyclists and the red pedestrian crashes, those all occurred in the general vicinity of that intersection. And there were, of that 145, there were 83 crashes on Wisteria, including 2 pedestrian and 2 bicyclist crashes in various spots along the corridor. We also understand that there was another crash not too long ago near the high school and the Maryland 119 intersection with the pedestrian with the student. So that didn't make it up there because that was in 2023, but certainly we note that that is an event that occurred. Next slide, please. One of the things that we did for our initial analyses was do some operational traffic modeling using Synchro and SimTraffic software. The software takes inputs of the transportation network, such as the number of lanes, the signal timings, the amount of traffic on the roadway, and it helps us determine factors such as what is the intersection delay that people are experiencing at the different intersections along the corridor, and that's equated to a level of service, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. We also were able to obtain forecasted travel times for the corridors for the existing condition and for the different build alternatives that are proposed, and took a look at intersection queues too. And our analyses, we summarized them focusing right now at the 6 signalized intersections that are along the 3 corridors at Crystal Rock, Maryland 118, and Maryland 119 for both corridors. And we focused on the AM peak, the morning rush hour, the PM rush hour, as well as the school dismissal time in the mid-afternoon, looking at 2022 traffic counts and conditions. And at the bottom there, if you look at that, it shows an equivalency of the intersection delay that I was just talking about with what we call level of service, which is a grade of how well the facility is operating. And you can see based on different amounts of average delay for the motorist, we grade that for between a level of service A, which is very good with little delay, very little congestion, and level service F, which of course is failing and is very jammed traffic with long queues, traffic not getting through, a single green cycle, people having to sit through multiple cycles at the intersections. And next slide. The next couple of slides here, we took a look at that level of service that I was just talking about and looked at what happened at the different intersections with the different conditions with the existing condition in those first two columns there, and then alternatives 1, 2A, 2B, and 3 that Ing was just describing. And we took a look at what happens with the delay and the intersection level of service with each of those conditions. And as you can see, looking across there, pretty much there's not a whole lot of change between the different options. And this is for the AM peak. And we can look at the next couple, which is the school peak. No, sorry, yeah, sorry. Yeah, this is the high school dismissal period. And again, you can see a lot of the levels of service, the delay does get a little bit worse in some cases, especially along Wisteria Drive. But even with that, it's pretty much staying level service B, level service C, and D. And then on the next slide, which is the PM peak, again, a lot of the intersections, which are D today, C today, B today, stay very close to that in the future with the different build options. And one of the questions is, you know, with our build options, we're taking part of the roadway. Why does the level of service not really change that much? And a lot of that is because a lot of what we're doing is we're not necessarily taking away lanes, but we're resizing them so that instead of maybe a 20-foot lane, we have a 10-foot lane with a bike path next to it. So in a lot of cases, other than really alternative 2A, the number of lanes that are there today is pretty much what would be there in the future. They just will be smaller. They may not be 20-foot lanes or 12-foot lanes, but 10-foot instead. Next slide, please. Okay. Also, additional findings that we had using the synchro model for the Middlebrook Road corridor for the westbound direction, where we're taking the one lane for the bicycle lane. Basically, the intersection queues of traffic do have minor increases because we do have less storage space because some of the lanes are taken up by the bicycle lanes. And the westbound travel time does decrease just a little bit, traveling all the way from Maryland 119 to Maryland 118 by about 7 seconds per trip. So not a huge decrease. And then along Wisteria Drive, the travel time changes were a little bigger than that between 118 and 119. For most of the options, the increase was around 15 seconds or less than what is experienced today. The exception was alternative 2A, which again does have some additional lanes closed from what's there today compared to the other alternatives. The increase in travel time was closer to a 30-second increase in travel time. But again, the forecasted intersection queues, we were showing that they would still be maintained with the existing lane storage along the corridor. Next slide, please. And with that, we will talk about some of the costs and impacts of the improvement options. And Angel, okay.
Thank you, Scott. So we'll talk a little bit about the project costs and impact summary. Keep in mind that this is at a planning level currently, and this project is not being funded for final design construction yet. We mainly focus on Wisteria Drive because part of this project is looking into how we can provide better pedestrians and bicycle experiences for Wisteria Drive, especially for the students who are near the high school that, you know, might be walking to school, might be biking to school, or, you know, during lunch, they might go to the nearby shopping center to get their lunch. So want to make sure that, you know, we cover that. And so that is part of the priority for this project. And this table summarizes some of the impacts that we have looked at as part of this study for property impacts, street tree impacts, whether widening of the roadway is needed, and the estimated construction cost. So the no-bill option essentially is a where we're just not going to do anything as a control, so that we have something to compare to. For alternative option one, the property impact is around 19,000 square feet. And for street impacts, we're looking at only on eastbound of Wisteria Drive. And no widening will be needed for that option. And the construction cost is approximately $2.3 million. And for option 2A is essentially about the same in terms of property impacts. Again, both option 1 and option 2A, we're looking to fit in the proposed facility, bike facility within the existing roadway. So we're not doing any major change to the road itself. And similarly, have the same street tree impacts and no widening needed. But with option 2A, because we're proposing a hardscape, a concrete barrier buffer for the proposed bike lane, and that's the difference between the cost for option 1 and 2A. For option 2B, it is there are a little bit more impacts for option 2A, 2B is 34,000 square feet of property impacts, and we're looking at street treat impacts for both eastbound and westbound Wisteria Drive. Again, no widening is needed, but construction cost is about the same as 2A. And for option 3, which is our ultimate build out option, looking at property impacts of 25,000 square feet and street treat impact on both sides of the road. And for that option, widening is needed, and construction cost is at about $4.8 million. Next slide. Next step. So after tonight's meeting, I will be collecting feedback from the community through December 8th. You can submit your online comment form using this link or email it directly to me. And after collecting all these feedback, we'll present this project to the planning board in the form of a briefing. And after that, we'll also present this project to the county council T&E committee. All of the presentation materials tonight is available on the project website. Can you go to the next slide, please? It's available on the project website, which is the link at the bottom of the screen. And we also have in person the concept plan view. They're also available on the project website that you can take a look at. And with that, I'll open up to any questions that anyone might have. You can raise your hand, and then our staff will unmute you. Or you can unmute yourself. Is there anyone raising their hand? Oh. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks very much. I appreciate this presentation. I'm a local resident in the Waters Landing community. I regularly use this corridor to get to the Germantown MARC station, and my daughters will be high school age fairly soon, and they'll likely be using that to walk or bike to school in a few years. So I'm very concerned about this. I'm also aware that a middle school student at the middle school that my daughters are zoned for died earlier this year in this area. So I'm deeply concerned about the safety implications of whatever you do here. I have a very specific question, and I'm mindful that you have the opportunity to comment, but just very briefly, I'll comment. A deep opposition to widening option 3. I think that would be a horrible idea, and we need to prioritize safety over traffic flow, and widening would be a bad in that respect. Slight preference for option 2A, which provides physical barriers between bicyclists and pedestrians and the traffic. So to my specific question, and it might make sense to move to slide 18 if that's easy to do. What I'm wondering is, has any thought been given to improvements along Crystal Rock Drive, the area that bisects the two roads that you're considering, particularly pedestrianizing it or making it safer for students that are walking along there. And then another thing I'm wondering is whether you've given any thought to utilizing the undeveloped lot immediately northwest of the high school. So that's owned by the county. And I assume students, regularly use it to walk over to the CVS there. And if there were actual, a pedestrian path that they could use, I imagine that would move some of the traffic flow for both bicyclists and pedestrians away from the roads entirely. It doesn't get more separated than 100 meters away from the road. So whether any thought would be given to that, I would hope that would be something you would consider. Related to that, there's Walter Johnson Road, which is also does not have a very good pedestrian access and is also part of this area. So I'm wondering whether you're considering any of those sort of side streets along here as part of this process, and if not, why not, since the students are also using those.
Thank you for your comment. And we are considering, we're looking into intersection improvement at the Crystal Rock and Walter Johnson as well as part of this project. And for the purpose of this meeting, we just want to present the high level plan view of this project. And during the next phase of the design, we'll look into more detailed design to improve bike path crossing at these intersections, including adding a signal at Walter Johnson Road. So it is being considered. We just haven't shown it because those are more finer detail that we'll look into in the later phase of the design. And regarding your comments on the property, the county property near the Walter Johnson Road, I don't believe there's any proposed development being used over there. From what I understood, that there is a big drainage area and stormwater facility that is located in there, and that's why it hasn't been developed in the past. I don't know, however long that's been there. But we can definitely look into it and see if there's anything that we can do in terms of providing additional bike path connection a little bit further away from the adjacent road. And then in terms of Walter Johnson Road, we actually have a separate project for Walter Johnson Road to look into a shared use path to connect the Germantown Square Urban Park all the way to the Germantown March station. So it is a project that we are also coordinating with, and we'll consider. We are working on that one separately. So so thank you for your comment. I hope I answered all your questions.
You did. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we have Mr. Robinson.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a couple of questions as well. First of all, I agree with the last speaker. I'm a big believer that the raised concrete medians are the best way to go for this. I don't believe with as much students and kids that are around that area, and this is coming from someone who grew up in Germantown my whole life. I've been around this area for 30 years, and I've seen this whole area kind of grow before my eyes. And I agree, especially with the unfortunate and very sad incidents of us losing a young community member at the intersection of Wisteria and Great Seneca. I really, really think those buffers are not enough, and I would highly encourage you all to very much consider options with the raised medium. Another question I had was in terms of outreach with actual students at the school. Have you guys done any of that in terms of speaking to actual kids that take their bike to Seneca Valley and what their experiences are like and certain parts of the area that they might be more cautious around? Has that happened yet?
Yeah, so we haven't specifically worked with the student just yet. Our team has actually walked the whole corridor from one end to other on both Wisteria Drive and Middlebrook Road, and we did around like school dismissal time. So we do take note of like where the students are walking towards, and how they travel on both of these roads. So so that we want to make sure that our project is fitting into what their needs are. We have at DOT, we have a program called Safe Route to School, and their team consistently work with Montgomery County Public School and reaching out to students to be cautious as when they walk to school, but also like making sure that there are safe and accessible way to get for students to get to school. And so we'll work with that team to make sure that we reach out to the high school there, and moving forward with this project to make sure that students are aware of this project, but also like giving their comments and insights in terms of like how they currently commuting to school, but also like outside of school, where are they walking to within this area. So thank you for your comment.
Yeah, and just again, just to relay, I think it's, as a kid that grew up in Germantown, I think we underrate sometimes the unique perspective that even teenagers have, and that can give us as adults who may not be focusing on certain things that they experience throughout their every day of getting to school. And so, just lastly, real quick, I was just curious, what brought up this whole project being drawn up in the first place? Was it the bicyclist community that kind of started this? Was there certain things that have happened? Like, I'm just kind of curious how this project kind of got kind of drawn up in the first place.
Yeah, so this project was in our facility planning program. So that program specifically looked into various roadway in the county and see if there's anything we can improve on based on the master plans around the county. And so this was kind of next on the list, and so that's how it come to be.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Craig Wilson.
Hi, yes, good evening. I just had a quick question. You just mentioned something about a possible project in conjunction with the Mark, but I missed that. Could you just repeat that?
Yes, so we have a project that is currently finished in preliminary design on Walter Johnson Road, and that project is looking to proposing a share use path on Walter Johnson Road connecting between the Germantown. I always get that name wrong. Germantown Urban Square Park all the way to Germantown March train station. So that would improve both pedestrian experience as well as the bicyclist experience for people who are trying to going from the east of Germantown to the Mark train station.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone? Yes. Yeah. No, so that project is not. Oh, sorry. We have someone in attending in person asked that if I can show the Walter Johnson project. So I don't have the project on this map just yet, but if you can email me, I will send you the latest updates and show you the plans. Yeah. You mind speaking into the mic so that everyone else virtually can hear? Yeah, because they probably have the same question and Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a student at Seneca Valley High School. I also am with the Chamber of Commerce. And so I'm thinking about the business community around here. Have you been to like the shopping center where Dairy Queen and the Amish Market are and talked to
Yes.
those businesses about this program?
Not specific talking about it, but we did walk around there and observe the traffic and how people are getting in and out of those that particular intersection, because we see a lot of people trying to cross Wisteria from one end to the other, and it's very difficult. And I try to do it, and that was
It's
that was
near
a very,
impossible.
yeah, it's very difficult. And so as part of this project, we are looking into proposing a traffic signal there so that it will be better for pedestrian and cyclists who are trying to cross one way or the other in all the legs of the intersection.
That's great. I really would encourage you to go and speak with the anchor businesses in that shopping center about the options here and get any feedback on how that might impact their traffic flow day to day. And then I know the school would be willing to talk to you too, not just the students, but I think
Yes.
the administration of the school would be very interested in looking at these options and
Yeah.
sharing feedback as well. I was kind of surprised you hadn't talked to them yet.
We're still in the early planning phase, but so we definitely will reach out to them.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have anyone else? Craig, did you raise your hand again?
Nope, sorry, I always forget to put it down. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. And Hitesh Firmani.
Yeah, thanks for doing this tonight. I happen to live in the area. And my question relates to future construction. Apparently, Lidl wants to build a store at the corner intersection of Germantown Road and Wisteria. Now, obviously, that hasn't been finalized or anything, but if they were to build a store, that would bring in a lot of vehicular and even pedestrian traffic as well to the area. To what extent has that been considered with your changes and your proposed potential plan options to not negatively impact the traffic flow in that area while also maintaining safety for pedestrians?
Yeah, so that project, that's a developer project, and it's been reviewed by both the planning department as well as our MCDOT in terms of traffic impacts from that development. So we're aware of that development as well, and that's part of the reason we feel like if and when that development happens, it's important that we have some sort of protected crossing at Wisteria Drive and Walter Johnson Road, and that's part of the reason why we're proposing the traffic signal there to ensure that traffic flow is appropriate, but also like providing safe crossing for pedestrian and cyclists who might be going to the new Lidl business, but also traveling across the across Germantown and through the corridor. So so we are coordinating with our counterparts at planning department to make sure that we're our design is complementing that development as well. So thank you for your comments. All right. Anyone else online, in person? Okay, so I'll wrap up the presentation here, but we'll stay online. So if you have additional questions for that you just thought about now, and we'll be around to answer your questions. So you can just send us a chat, send us a note in the chat. We'll get to you. So thank you for your time. And again, if you have any questions or you have any comments, you can email it to me or using the online comment form. Oh, you have one more? Oh. We have a written question.
So the comment online is agree with against widening, but why not better bus service in the area? Then we only have one partial bus service, clockwise bus on the morning and counterclockwise in the evening. We need service all day both ways.
Thank you for your comment. And our Division of Transit Services is in charge of the bus service, ride-on services in the county. So I'll pass along your comment to them and have them take a look at potentially increase the services based on ridership or the needs or the community needs. So thank you for your comment, and I'll make sure to pass along. You have another one? Okay.
Another comment is any consideration to the needs of the post office located off of Wisteria Drive?
Can you clarify in terms of specific needs or just needs in general?
So obviously the main entrance and exit for the post office from the employee standpoint for the post office vehicles is at intersection off of Wisteria Drive. And the question relates basically to whether there was widening or not, or narrowing of the roads with regards to pedestrian and bike lanes, if that would affect the ability of those vehicles to come and go as freely as they can now. I know they did put in a signal at that intersection, but just something that I thought that would be also be of concern, because that's a pretty large fixture in that area that sometimes gets overlooked.
Yeah. We'll with our design, we always look at the turning movement of the vehicles that we have to accommodate. And so for that intersection in Crystal Walk that you're mentioning, fronting the back entrance of the post office, we'll definitely take a look at it and make sure that the turning movement is working for those vehicles, but also making sure that crossing distance is not increasing just because of to accommodate those movement, and making sure that in the next phase of design, making sure that we providing enough time for pedestrian to cross, and as well as increasing visibility for any pedestrian who might be waiting to cross. So thank you for that comment. Okay, anyone else? Okay, again, we'll be online. Time is it? 7:30. We'll be online until 8, I would say. So feel free to send us a note on the chat. No?
It's 7:45.
Oh, sorry. Okay, 7:45. My boss says 7:45. But anyway, again, if you have any questions following up tonight's meeting, you can always email me or give me a call if you want to discuss further. But thank you again for everyone who joined us for the meeting online and in person. We really appreciate you taking time out of your evening to learn more about this project. So thank you.